Welcome back, folks. If you haven't checked out part 1 of this massive rant slash review slash discussion of the Spider-Man film franchise, you can check that out. Hopefully you do check it out because I talk about a lot that happens there in here, and it's just generally if you want to get a more concise view of what I think about the series, it's best to start there. So we ended off with Spider-Man 1. Now, despite what I said in that video, the film was workable as a Spider-Man adaptation. They really did miss the mark on a lot of things, especially when it came to character development and really rushing his origin, but as an adaptation it was eh. As a film it was A sequel. Definitely have to take it one step further, and they actually did when it came to the film qualities, as far as cinematography, as far as pacing. It was just so much better. Special effects were great. Everything as far as an actual film was leagues better than the first one. But when it comes down to an adaptation, they still do miss the mark, in this case on a much grander scale. They did fix some small little nitpicks that I had as far as the characters. They definitely gave some of the characters more to do. However, that is so few and far between. It's not what we need to actually love these characters. It's pretty much pathetic. So we start out with the second film establishing that Peter Parker is, Spider-Man, and he's doing all these things. He's trying to juggle everything from schoolwork to having a job to trying to have a social life and be with his family and such. And it's obviously become too much of a task to him. At the end of the first Spider-Man movie, one of the reasons why I still like the ending of that more than in any of the other films in the trilogy was because it really spoke to me. It really spoke that after all that BS they did, they still captured the whole with great power comes great responsibility thing. No matter how many times they said it to death in the movies. They still did that he would be giving up Mary Jane simply because he doesn't want her to get hurt. I thought that was great. However, in this movie, he literally tries so hard to get into Mary Jane's pants. Not just to be there for her as a friend, but as a love interest. I mean, come on, you had all that build up at the end of the first movie and then you go into this? Really, man? Really? And before anybody says, "Oh, you're just using that as a freaking cop out," he really just wanted to be her friend. No, and I explain what happens later on. Yeah, you can see how these two douchebags are perfect for each other. Now, when it came to newer characters they introduced, the main one being Doc Ock. Now, this is the funny part. I see a lot of people saying that, "Yo, Doc Ock was epic in this movie, man. They did that character justice." Last time I checked, Doc Ock was a cold-hearted bastard who had a severe superiority complex. His ego was so massive. When was he Spider-Man's friend? Well, Peter Parker's friend, if you want to say on that. You see, my main issue with Doc Ock / Otto Octavius in this movie is that they writ the beginning of his character out to be like the Lizard. Not the Lizard, well, Kirk Connors and his relationship with Peter. They essentially writ it out as Peter being the student and he's the mentor, and they're talking about a lot of things. They're building a relationship. I really did like that. Why didn't they write Kirk Connors / the Lizard into the movie? They already established him as being Peter Parker's professor. Maybe he could work with him on something and then he would tell him about his plans to fix himself like they're doing in the reboot. Why couldn't they do that? But they somehow shoehorned those characteristics into Otto Octavius. So then his experiment backfires and the arms become attached to him, and this is the funny part. It's made to believe that he's the one who's in control this entire time, but by the end of the movie, he essentially says, "It was the arms who did it to me, Peter. It wasn't me all along. I wasn't in control of myself." If you're gonna make the character a bastard, don't make him a sympathetic little bitch at the end. That is not called good character development. That is called just trying to appeal to a broader audience. Oh, we want to make this character more likable so the little kids will buy the toys and they'll like him and they'll look up to him and they'll have posters on the wall. No. In some cases there aren't happy endings. Some people are just generally evil. And we'll talk about that more in number 3. So I did not like what they did to Doc Ock at all. I mean, they had the asshole-ish nature of him sort of there, But other than that, it was completely ridiculous. And that complete 180 at the end of the movie, no. No, people, we don't always have to have a good guy. Seriously, we don't always have to have a good victim. But other than that, what is my main problem with Spider-Man 2? Oh boy, the one reason why one of my favorite arcs was butchered to no end. Spider-Man No More. Now, for those who do not know what Spider-Man No More is, if you haven't read the comics, or if you just want to refresh your course, essentially in Spider-Man No More, what happens is Peter Parker gives up his Spider-Man persona. It was a combination of personal issues as well as the city turning against him. They made him out to be a menace, and when I mean menace, I mean a pretty bad guy. A pretty big bad guy, if you want to say. There were people turning against him because of essentially he was framed for something he didn't do. Essentially, that's what happened. And the entire city turned against him. So he got fed up that people weren't respecting him for doing all these good things, and yet they called him a villain. Yeah, that can put a lot of stress on a person, so of course he would be pissed off about that. And throughout that, you know, he sometimes when he sees a person who's in distress, he would go and save them, but really he wasn't Spider-Man at all. Now, in the film, they try to adapt Spider-Man No More. They went so far as to recreate an iconic scene where he throws the suit away and he walks into the distance and it's right there. How do you have that in there but you miss the entire meaning of why he gave up the suit? In the film series, he gave up the suit to be closer to Mary Jane Watson. That's it. For those who are saying that, oh no, it's because the city was against him, bull freaking shit. Show me where the city was against him. Show me. The only person who was ever against Spider-Man in that film series was J. Jonah Jameson, and you know his character down to a T. He will always say that. He will rep that till the day he dies. When was the city against him? The city loved him. The city worshipped him for what he did. And they questioned why he abandoned him at this time. Why did he do it? Completely selfish. For selfish reasons. Oh, I want to get with Mary Jane. So it starts out like this. He realizes that he can't be with Mary Jane. Then he wants to be with Mary Jane, but she doesn't want to commit with him. He gives up the Spider-Man suit to try to get with her to have free time, but she's already engaged, and he's trying to convince her out of her engagement. Is that the Peter Parker that we know? No. That is a complete douchebag. Don't try to reason with that. Find me where the entire city was against him on a global scale. On a tri-city scale, or whatever you want to say. Yeah. That was pathetic. They killed his entire motivations for giving up the suit. And when he finally did put on the suit again, it was something like, yeah, awesome. But no. He walks by a person who's getting mugged in the alley. He doesn't do anything. And don't pull the crap that, well, he didn't have his powers to do that. Yeah. Because apparently Raimi wanted to tie having the powers to his emotions or something. I don't remember how it happened, but that's pathetic. You telling me he still wouldn't have gone to try to save that person if he didn't have his powers? You're telling me that with the moves that he's learned from being Spider-Man, he couldn't at least help the guy? I mean, really? Oh, but he saves that little girl from the fire. Yeah, you want to know something funny? After he realized that there was another person who died, he still did not become Spider-Man. You want to know when he became Spider-Man? Oh, when his booty call was threatened. Yeah, when Mary Jane was kidnapped by Doc Ock because Doc Ock wanted to get the thing and then Harry had it. Yeah. When Mary Jane was threatened, he became Spider-Man. That is pathetic. And he became Spider-Man simply just out of nowhere. Like he regained his powers. Really now. And so after the whole thing with Doc Ock, essentially he says, I still can't be with you, Mary Jane, or something along those lines. And then he still doesn't become Spider-Man. He still doesn't go out crime fighting. Really now. And this is another point that annoyed me. Why did Sam Raimi feel the need to... This actually contradicts the entire movie. He felt the need to reveal Peter Parker's face to every single person on that train. Why? Why did he have to do that? And you want to know the reason why I say it's a contradiction? Because the little kids there and everybody around them, we missed you, Spider-Man. If that doesn't drive home to the douchebag's heart, I don't know what does. Seriously. And are you telling me that somebody in that train wasn't going to take a picture of him and upload it to the internet? And you want to know something funny? Probably, if all those people were good, it also adds to the point that nobody in the city was against him. Yeah, so now that we've covered the entire motivation behind him abandoning the suit down, try to refute that. I really wish you do. Now we move on to Mary Jane. This is the funny part. Mary Jane, she established that she doesn't want to have anything to do with Peter, and yet when Peter saves her, she finds out he's Spider-Man. She's having mixed feelings about the engagement. Seriously. She freaking breaks up with the guy through a note at the altar. She didn't have the common freaking courtesy to break up with him before the engagement. Like, break up the engagement before the wedding. She waited until she already had her wedding dress on, and she didn't have the common courtesy to talk with him. She just gave him a note and that's it, and then she runs off in the distance. Oh, I love you, Peter. I've always loved you. I'm sorry, but that is what we call out here a bitch. Plain textbook definition of the word. So we have the douchebag who abandoned the city to get into the girl's pants, and we have the bitch who didn't have the common courtesy to tell a guy, I want to break this off, I'm having second thoughts. A douchebag and a bitch. Yeah, I guess they do go together in the Raimi films. I guess they do. Now you probably can surmise why I had problems with the first two Raimi films. As films themselves, like I said, they're decent. But as adaptations, they've completely destroyed characters, motivations, development, everything that you'd love about the comics. And not even just as adaptations. These people are not good people. These people are complete assholes who they try to make you think are good people. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. And the worst is yet to come. Let's get on to the creme de la creme of crap, Spider-Man 3.